Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're tearing down a platform that is just making massive waves in the AI development space. It's called Lovable. If you're following the tech landscape and want to know exactly how software building is evolving, you are in the perfect spot. We're going to take a really structured look at the entire lifecycle of an app, literally from a tiny idea in your head all the way to a live, production-grade product. We're zeroing in on the top 3 things you can do with Lovable, and then we'll take a hard, totally objective look at what actually happens when it's time to scale that app up. To really get why Lovable matters, we got to compare it to the heavyweights right now, V0 and Bolt. They all operate pretty differently. V0, it's fantastic, but it's mainly for front-end UI components, right? You still have to wire up your own backend. Bolt, on the flip side, gives you that full-stack app, but it's very code-first. It lives in the browser and really targets developers. Lovable kind of sits right there in the sweet spot, right in the middle, and it totally eliminates that annoying context switching. It generates a full-stack, deployable app that you can edit visually without burning through all your AI credits, or you can just dive straight into the code. It's literally designed to get your designers, PMs, and developers all working inside the exact same sandbox. So here is our roadmap for the Explainer today. First, building full-stack apps quickly. Second, adding built-in AI. Third, deploying and owning everything. And finally, number 4, a scaling reality check. All right, section 1, build full-stack apps quickly. Now, this is where Lovable just completely accelerates those critical early stages of product development, taking you from a literal blank canvas to a working interface in just minutes. The magic really starts with visual edits. You know, in a lot of AI builders, if you want to just change a button color or tweak a layout, you have to write a whole new prompt, and that eats up your AI credits. Lovable actually gives you a point-and-click visual editor, meaning your non-technical team members, say a marketing manager or a designer, can freely iterate on the layout, tweaking colors and text, absolutely free, no credit costs. Meanwhile, your engineers can just toggle over to code mode and work directly with the underlying React code. Both teams are in the same project, doing their thing without stepping on each other's toes. But hey, it's not just a pretty interface. Lovable automatically provisions a complete, fully functional backend architecture based on open standards. Sure, it generates your front-end React components, but it also automatically wires up a Supabase database. So user authentication, data storage, backend logic, all of that is handled for you right out of the gate. Plus, you get continuous GitHub code sync, so every single change is version controlled. You're building actual, real software here, not just some mock-up. And that perfectly sets us up for the next core feature. Section 2, add built-in AI. Okay, so once your foundation is laid, you're probably going to want your app to actually do some smart things, right? Historically, integrating AI meant this massive headache of picking providers, securing credentials, writing complex back-end calls. It's a lot. Now, you can inject these incredible capabilities literally just by asking in plain English. Imagine just casually adding conversational chatbots or document Q&A for your users, semantic search using RAG, even voice narration with text-to-speech. You can throw in image generation or complex workflow automations. And honestly, the best part, Lovable automatically manages all the API keys for you. These features run securely on server-side edge functions, which means your credentials and prompts are never, ever exposed in the browser. And this brilliantly illustrates just how much flexibility you really have here. You can totally just let Lovable pick the AI model, or you can get super specific based on what you're building. Need general chat? Boom. Use Gemini 3 Flash. Doing high-volume simple tasks where speed is everything? Route it to GPT-5 Nano. Need image generation? It hooks right into GPT Image 2. Voice? GPT-4o Mini TTS. You basically have this massive suite of frontier models at your fingertips without needing a dozen different developer accounts. It's a real game changer. Section 3, deploy and own everything. The deployment momentum with Lovable is honestly reduced to just a few clicks. You connect a custom domain, and Lovable handles all the heavy lifting. It automatically configures the necessary DNS records, instantly provisions a free SSL certificate, and then you just click publish. Just like that, your app is live on a secure branded URL. The platform even throws in a mandatory pre-published security scan to catch any sneaky vulnerabilities before they ever hit the web. But going live doesn't mean you're suddenly trapped in their ecosystem. A massive, massive selling point of Lovable is code ownership. Because it uses open standards like React and Supabase and continuously syncs everything to GitHub, the code is fundamentally yours. If you wake up one day and decide you want to move away from Lovable and host the whole shebang on your own infrastructure, you can just export the entire project. It's specifically designed to mitigate that dreaded vendor lock-in that has plagued low-code platforms for years. Section 4. The Scaling Reality Check. Now let's switch gears and rely on a totally objective, impartial analysis from FastDev. They're a development agency that often has to step in to help startups when they inevitably outgrow their low-code tools. And their core question is simple. What happens when you scale? Look, it is incredibly empowering to build a SaaS MVP over your lunch break. But building a real web app is rarely just about launching version 1.0. It's about owning it, maintaining it, and evolving it over time. And unfortunately, that is exactly where the cracks can start to show. For example, let's talk about design and usability. A UX designer over at FastDev noted, accessibility 100%. You'll get white text on white backgrounds. UX isn't just layout, it's how something feels, and AI doesn't feel anything. I mean, we all know what clunky, thoughtless UX feels like, right? The critique here is that AI generates very generic designs that frequently fail critical WCAG accessibility standards. It skips those crucial, human-centric elements, like nuanced onboarding flows, proper spacing hierarchies, or meaningful warning feedback. So it creates a decent base, sure, but without real human intervention, the user experience can be pretty brittle. From a technical perspective, try to think of this app lifecycle like a high-tech prefab house. The rapid prototyping value, getting the house built and standing in a week, is absolutely incredible. But that really only represents a small portion of the app's total lifespan. The other 80%? That's what comes later. If you decide you want to add a third story to that prefab house a year from now, you might suddenly uncover massive, hidden maintenance challenges, simply because the foundation wasn't custom poured for your specific growing needs. FastDev points out a few very specific technical warnings that you absolutely must be aware of. First off, the auto-generated data architecture can be pretty weak and inflexible in the long run. Second, apps relying heavily on asynchronous logic, think complex login flows or file uploads via Supabase, well, they often suffer performance bottlenecks. Sometimes they freeze or drop files because the AI's abstraction just mishandles callback timing. And third, when things do break, you are often met with super vague error messages. Anyone who has ever written software knows the absolute pain of debugging blind, and because the code was auto-generated, that's exactly what you're doing. A seemingly tiny feature tweak down the road might literally require you to rip out and rewrite huge chunks of the auto-generated codebase. So the crucial point is this. Vendor lock-in isn't just about tricky terms of service. It's actually about knowledge. Even if you theoretically own all the React and Supabase code, and it's sitting right there in your GitHub repository, if your team doesn't actually understand how it was stitched together by the AI, well, you can't maintain it without continuing to rely on Lovable. It creates this very subtle new type of dependency. Which really leaves us with this final thought. Is vibe coding the ultimate launchpad for your next big idea, or is it a high-risk shortcut that will cost you in tech debt later on? The truth, according to the sources, is that it's likely a bit of both. It is an undeniable game changer for speed, for prototyping, and for seamlessly integrating powerful AI features. But if your ultimate goal is a highly scaled, meticulously crafted user experience, you have to be prepared to eventually take those training wheels off and engineer it yourself. It's a fascinating balance, and one that is entirely reshaping how we think about building software today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.